Good morning, and thank you for joining us for the 2024 Mideastern Athletic Conference Weekly Football Coaches Call. I am Elise Scripter, Director of Strategic Communications for the Mideastern Athletic Conference, and I will serve as moderator and co-host of today's question and answer session. Before we begin, I would like to go over today's procedures. The conference will begin with MEAC notes, featuring conference highlights, upcoming events, and weekly accolades. Afterwards, we will ask each head coach questions about the previous matchups, the upcoming games, followed by questions from the media. To ask a question, simply click the raise hand feature and remain muted until you're introduced. At this time, the MEAC notes will be brought to you by the Assistant Director of Strategic Communications, Abigail Weiss. Go ahead, Abigail.
Thank you, Elise. So volleyball completed their first stretch of non-conference games this week with multiple unpredicted outcomes. Coppin State leads all MEAC conference teams 2-0 with a record to start the season off, defeating both Delaware State and Maryland Eastern Shore. Howard also went undefeated this week with a 1-0 record in a 3-set sweep against North Carolina Central. Maryland Eastern Shore, Norfolk State, Delaware State, and North Carolina Central all cross at 1-1 on the week, while South Carolina State and Morgan State went 0-2 for the week. Multiple cross-country runners took their marks this week. Delaware State women's cross-country team placed second as a team at the Dawn Cathcart Invitational. That concludes this week's MEAC Weekly Notes. Back to you, Elise.
Thank you, Abigail. Joining me this morning as co-host throughout the season is executive producer of the MEAC Digital Network, Mr. Lynn Thompson. Welcome, Lynn, and thank you for being here with us this morning. Let's talk MEAC football.
Thanks so much, Elise. Glad to be here, and thank you, Abby, for the league updates. Hey, welcome everybody to our 7th football video conference of the 2024 season. We've got a lot of exciting information to share, and I know everybody's ready, so let's dive into it. Our first interview this morning is with head coach Larry Scott of the Howard University Bison. Good morning to you, Coach Scott.
Good morning, Lynn. How we doing?
We're doing good, Coach. The Bison hit the road, took a tough 30-13 loss at Princeton. You said that you were going to have to play a very good football game last weekend, and let's talk about your team's performance against an Ivy League opponent.
Just that what I said, and we had to go do that. We didn't. Got off to a really slow start for whatever reason. No excuses as to why that happened. We got to get to the bottom of that, but got off to a really uncharacteristic slow start for us in that game. And kind of dug ourselves into a hole with some mistakes, an early turnover deep in our territory, and found ourselves in a deep, deep hole. Kind of responded a little bit there coming out of the second half and climbed back into it, but had dug ourselves into a situation that we just couldn't overcome, face some adversity. Didn't overcome it, dug ourselves too deep of a hole, didn't do what we needed to do to get out of it. But a lot to learn and teach from and grow from. And thank God the bye week came at couldn't come at a more perfect time to dig into some of those things and to get those things correct.
Coach, you as you alluded to, the offense did struggle to get in sync in the first half. You did find some success in the second half. What adjustments do you attribute that success to?
I think that's our guys' attitude. They always believe that they can win. They're going to get into it. They're going to stay into it. They're not going to roll over. They're not going to quit. I think we found some success in running the football there in the second half coming out. And we once we found some runs and different things like that, kind of opened up some of the passing game, some shots downfield, and we protected the quarterback a little bit better there in the second half. And then we also had a little bit better field position. If you go back and look at it, our average start was a 20-yard line. We had some very uncharacteristic penalties. We've been one of the least penalized teams in all of FCS the past few seasons, and for whatever reason, found ourselves being uncharacteristically, a lot of penalties in that game that had us starting out with a lot of poor field position or stalling drives, and you're playing 1st and 20 or 2nd and 18 and those type of downs. There ain't a whole lot of calls in the playbook to keep being put in that situation backed up deep in your territory. So it was kind of one of those days where if you thought of something that couldn't go right, that needed to go right, went wrong, it did. And so we got to figure out and get to the bottom of what that was, why that happened, and get it changed and get it fixed in a hurry. Thank God we got a week here to kind of go to work on those things.
Okay, this bye week really sets you up because you're on the cusp of starting conference play. And Coach, what will you focus on during this week? I know you're going to take a look back and see who you are and what you are as a football team, but you got to take a look ahead too. So tell us what you'll do during this week.
A is get some guys healthy. We got a lot of guys that have been bumped and bruised up, which has done another thing that comes along that'll be a blessing for us truly later. We've had some young guys that have played a lot of football because they've had to because of some injuries and bumps and bruises and things like that. But get healthy. The other thing too is attack some of the situational football areas that we haven't been playing to the caliber of who we think we are and where we need to be, and get that cleaned up. So we'll have some situational football. Awareness type things that we're going to really work hard on in this offseason. So we're going to attack some of our problem areas. And that's what we're really going to go to work on, whether that's technique fundamentals or, some third down stuff, some red zone stuff. We're going to attack some of the areas that we need to make some improvements in. So that'll be the plan this week.
Okay. Hold on just for a second, Coach. And Elise will take it from here.
Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder to the media, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you are introduced. Our first questions for Coach Scott come from Nathaniel Henry Jr.
Good morning, Coach Scott. How you doing this morning?
Doing good, Nate. How you doing?
Great. Nathaniel Henry, Howard University Sports Media. Coach, what will be the team's focus during the bye week?
Academics. We're going to spend some time. Guys going to meet with their professors and do all that type of things. We're on the cusp of a lot of exams. We've had guys having to take exams in hotels on Friday nights and finish up papers and assignments. So just be able to get back to some academic stuff. We get healthy, give some guys some time to heal up some bumps and bruises and some ankles and soft tissue, things that we need to still clean up and stuff like that. So get healthy. And then we're going to attack some of our problem areas, We're going to, detail up some of where all these penalties are coming from all of a sudden. I mean, we went from being, like I said, one of the top teams in the country, least penalized teams, to all of a sudden now we're one of the heaviest penalized teams in the country inside of 5 games. A lot of which came from one game, which was this past week. And some of those things we control and some of those things we don't control. But the things that we are in control of, we're going to fix. And we're going to go to work on getting corrected right away. So that'll kind of be the focus this week. It'll be a multifaceted approach towards making sure we're getting better in a lot of different areas. And, one of which being, academically make sure these guys are taking care of their schoolwork and things like that too as well.
Yes, sir. You alluded to the penalty situation with Howard being one of the least penalized teams in the last 2 years. What do you attribute that to, and what can you do to address the recent surge of penalties?
You find out, as you move through out of conference play and deal with a host of different officials and different things like that, interpretation of different things, from whether that's CAA or whether that's the Big Ten officials or whether that's the Ivy League officials. There's so many different interpretations of different things, right, and all those type of things. So you learn from that, but at the end of the day, you got to control what we control. And when there's penalties being thrown from lack of fundamentals or a technique issue or just a plain out discipline issue, as far as unsportsmanlike or things like that, I think you have to look at the penalties and put them in the categories. And look at each one of them, and where they're coming from independently. And spent some time doing that yesterday evening, just kind of because that's, as the head coach, those are the things that are a reflection on the program. And so we have to go back and really take a hard look and do a hard study on our penalty situation and put them in categories and make sure we develop an effective tool and an effective plan of getting this corrected, and especially with the things that you control. But I think, with our out-of-season conference schedule being as vast as it is, you get so many different interpretations of some of the same things. So then, what are you teaching? How are we teaching it? Most importantly, and making sure that we're always trying to put the players in the best position to be successful. But there's a lot of different interpretations of things that happen during the course of some of these games.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you and good luck moving forward.
Thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Scott come from Chris Stevens, HBCU Sports.
Good morning, Coach Scott. How you doing?
Chris, good morning. How are you? I'm okay.
Pretty good. I just have one quick question for you. Obviously, being on the road as much as you guys have, it seems like you guys have a second residence in New Jersey this year, but just how important is it going to be able to get these guys, not just the rest and the academics, but to be able to have the bye and then have a home game against Sacred Heart again, then homecoming against Tennessee State. So basically you're home for the next 3 weeks. How is that going to, you feel like, help your team?
Big time, big time, right? From just, of course, of just rest and getting guys the sleep that they need. You know, hours is no joke when it comes to academics. And a lot of times our guys are up to 1, 2, 3 in the morning trying to finish assignments, trying to finish papers, trying to work ahead as much as they can too, with their schedules being what they are. So just to have, you know, kind of a moment to take a deep breath, you know, go have a chance to go sit with your professor, go meet your professor, you know, catch up on some things that you may have not caught up on. We travel like that. Some guys miss exams, so getting in on Monday and today and catching up on exams and different things like that. So to be able to take a deep breath, kind of catch up and shorten and lessen the load a little bit academically is going to be huge for us this week. And then just having an opportunity to play at home. If you look across the last 3 years, we probably can count on one hand how many times Howard we actually get a chance to play in Green Stadium at home on our campus. Doesn't happen very often. So, and you know, we've been a team that's been undefeated in those situations over the past 2 years too. We haven't lost at home. So it's something that we're excited about to kind of reverse some of the tide of what's been going on the past 2 weeks. Give ourselves an opportunity to play at home in front of our own fans and the comfort of being at home a little bit to kind of get back on the positive side of the column, so to speak. So a lot to look forward to over the next 3 years, but, you know, make sure we got a really good plan to operate off of and you know, maximize it and put our kids in the best situation possible to have success when we get back home.
All right, Coach, thanks very much for your time. Enjoy the bye.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That concludes all of our questions from the media at this time for you, Coach Scott. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. See you guys next week.
Howard has a bye this week before returning home on Saturday, October 12th, when they host Sacred Heart at Green Stadium in Washington, D.C. Kickoff is set for 1 p.m. on ESPN+. Lynn, back over to you for our next interview.
Thanks so much, Elise. Our next interview of the morning is with head coach of the North Carolina Central University Eagles, Trey Oliver. Coach, how are you today?
I'm well, Lynn. How are you doing this morning?
Good, man. Your team followed last week's dominant performance with another dominating win in Indianapolis over Conference 4 Norfolk State. Coach, let's talk about this game and the performance of your Eagle football team.
Yeah, then we were excited about being able to go up to Circle City and playing against a good Norfolk State football team. I was a little concerned going into the game. I didn't think we had a very good week of practice. You know, you're dealing with a lot of young guys and coming off a big win against a rival the week before. You know, a lot of guys are reading newspaper clippings. I guess that's old school now. I guess now they look at Twitter, social media. But, you know, I didn't think we had a great week of practice. It was a tough travel day trying to get up there, traveling through the storm. And I was talking to my staff. I said, I hope our guys feel better than I do, because it was a rough trip. But I thought that, you know, we focused in Saturday morning and played well. I was pleased to see how our guys played. Thought we played with a lot of energy, and we showed in some improvement in all 3 phases. Going into the game, you know, we knew Norfolk had a physical football team, and offensively, they wanted to try to establish the run and limit our possessions, keep our offense on the sidelines. So Norfolk had a good game plan. We were opportunistic in some areas and made some plays. So I was pleased with our guys' performance on Saturday.
Okay, Coach, now with the win, you hold sole possession of first place in the league, and you're going to hold that for several weeks before the rest of the conference season gets underway. Talk about the significance of getting out early and ahead of everybody else with the win.
Well, you know, it was with us playing a classic. Our conference started. Our conference game started a little bit earlier than everybody else's, but you know, it's a tough conference, and you don't have too many opportunities. So you got to make the most of it, and you can't have any slip up. So you just got to be locked in and take it one game at a time. We don't worry about next, you know, the weeks from now or a conference championship. So like I said, we were blessed and fortunate to get out of there with a win.
Coach, you return back to North Carolina this week to take on Campbell in Bowie's Creek. Campbell eked out a last-second win over Dell State. You get a chance to look at film on not only Campbell, but Dell State. Let's talk about this matchup and even the one down the road with Dell State.
Well, Campbell is a big, very big physical football team as well. Their offensive line is probably the biggest that we're going to see this year. The quarterback, it starts with the quarterback, and he's a dual threat guy, and he can throw the football. And then they have 2 receivers that are outstanding as well. So we got to work to come up with a game plan, try to slow these guys down. And, that was a great football game with them in Delaware State. Delaware State moved the ball on them. Had over 500 yards offense and 200 plus on both rushing and passing. So, Del State showed you that they can, that they're vulnerable. But, we're not Del State, obviously, and we have a whole lot of work to do to be able to match up with these folks. But we're going on the road to play at their place, and that's a tough place to play. But it's only about an hour and a half away, so I'm sure a lot of our fans will be there.
Okay, Coach, that's it for me. Hold on for Elise. I know she's got some media questions lined up.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder to the media, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you're introduced. Our first question for Coach Oliver comes from Chris Stevens.
Good morning, Coach Oliver. How you doing?
I'm well, Chris. How are you?
Pretty good. Just wanted to ask you about Markel Quick, the sophomore receiver. He had the first touchdown on the flea flicker, got away from the defense, and then made a tremendous grab in the second half. I think that ball bounced around 3 or 4 times before he came in with it. Just talk about his maturation, as a sophomore, being able to make those big plays and how that, helps Walker have another option on the field.
Yeah, and Walker has some options. We have a bunch of really, really good, talented receivers, and Quick is one that takes care of all, takes advantage of every opportunity. And, it's a direct correlation with how you practice and how you play. I see him out there practice every day, making these tough catches and making these plays. And, I guess his last name kind of sums it up because he can go, man. He's very quick, great speed and short area foot quickness. But, he's a guy that's going to take advantage of opportunities. And, Walker Harris gets the ball and he spreads it around. So a lot of guys are going to get opportunities, and it's about what you do with it when you get it. So very pleased. I'm happy to see him and his maturation as far as he's come this year.
You mentioned that Campbell's going to have the biggest offensive line you faced this year. Norfolk State has some beef on both sides, and you were able to neutralize them pretty well. Just how encouraging is that for you heading into Campbell next week?
Yeah, I thought defensively, our D-line played better. Our run fits were a little bit better this week and steadily improving. And, we're getting guys back. And I told you a couple weeks ago, when we started getting these guys back, some of our starters, that we were going to be playing a little bit better. And then offensively, I thought our guys up front offensively, Noah McKinney played really well, and AC McMorris played really well as well. So it always starts up front. You got to be able to stop the run and run the football. So, when you have Mansfield and Jaden Taylor and those guys defensively, playing in their gaps and playing with good technique and fundamentals, that helps.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. Best of luck this week.
Okay, thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Oliver come from Dwayne Nash.
Good morning, Coach. Dwayne Nash from the Yard HBCU Sports and Hero Sports. How are you this morning?
I'm well, Dwayne. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. When I spoke to you this summer at the MEAC Media Day, we kind of talked about rivalries. And you said to me, rivalries only really count if they're in the state. So with this being the third time that you faced Campbell, would you start, actually the third time in a row in consecutive seasons, would you start to say that this is starting to become a budding rivalry within the state for you?
I wouldn't say that. This is only the third time we played, and we don't have much history, amongst the schools. So I wouldn't say it's a rivalry. I know it got heated out here last year, and then there was a lot of talking going on pregame last year, and they got up on us, and we had to settle down and come back late and win it in overtime. But no, I wouldn't classify this game as rivalry. There's a couple more teams on our schedule I would say would probably fit that before these people.
Okay, Coach, and one last question. It kind of ties in with this one as well. How important is it for you to win these in-state rivalries as it pertains to recruitment? And would you say that there's a such thing, you hear chatter sometimes amongst people that you want to go ahead and try to get you an HBCU guy when you're out to recruit. Does that type of guy still exist in your opinion?
I'm sorry, trying to get an HBCU what now?
A HBCU guy or a guy who still wants to come play for an HBCU. Do you think that guy still exists?
I don't know about an HBCU guy. I don't know. We were trying to recruit the best student athletes we can find. I think wins like this do help you with recruiting. I do know that a lot of schools try to use that as a knock versus your institution that you are HBCU school. But we've had quite a bit of success non-conference against PWIs. So, and I think, like, in the big scheme, when you start looking at national rankings, you got to beat these non-conference opponents to be able to be ranked and let these sports writers see that you're a really good football program. But as far as recruiting, I would say it does help as far as in-state recruiting.
All right, thanks so much, Coach. Before I go, I have to ask, where do I go to donate to the $66 fund?
I'll make sure that Maurice, RSID, sends you the link for that. But it's SCCU Giving.
All right, thanks so much, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
All right.
That concludes all of our media questions for Coach Oliver at this time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
North Carolina Central travels to face Campbell University on Saturday, October 5th at Barker Lane Stadium in Buies Creek, North Carolina. Kickoff is set for 4 p.m., broadcasting on Flow Sports. Lynn, over to you for our next interview.
All right, Elise, thanks so much. Up next, Lee Hall, Delaware State University Hornet head coach. Coach Hall, are you there? And how are you this morning? I see you there.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm good. How are you, Lynn?
Coach, what a football game. I mean, you've a tough, heartbreaking loss, 44-41 on the road at Campbell. You had a shot to tie it at the end, but man, back and forth, everybody was watching it and talking about it. You talk now about your team's performance on the road last week.
Yeah, I mean, I like our performance. We just came up short, like you said, everybody enjoyed, watching the game. Obviously we came on the wrong end of the stick there, but I thought offensively, we played pretty well on offense. We got our quarterback is playing really well. We got 4 receivers that we really like, and then our running back, Jaden Sutton. He's a big physical kid, hard to bring down and have some speed. So, we do got some playmakers on offense, and we're just trying to figure out how to get all those guys the ball, and keep all of them happy, that way, and then defensively, we just got to come up with a stop. And that was good. That was a good offensive team that we played against. They're big up front on the offensive line. The quarterback, and I think that might have been the best game, of his career. And then, we just got to get a couple stops, on defense, and then special teams. Our kicker missed 2 field goals that could have helped us, but that's not all on him. Again, like I tell our team, if they score 44, we got to score 45. Whatever it is, we just got to have one more point, than the opponent, and it's about complete game, complementary football. But I'm happy where we're at. I'm excited about this football team and the program and what direction it's going in.
Okay, Coach, the Hornets led for most of the game. Well, up by 4 with less than 2 minutes to play. What will it take for the Hornets to get over the hump and finish with a victory? Is it going to be the execution, or them learning and you teaching and reestablishing the culture of the expectation that our culture will help us to win these football games?
Yeah, I think that's it. It's about the culture. It's about teaching. We have to be in these type of games to learn how to win them. The more we're in these type of games, we're going to win. We just need that one breakthrough game. We need that luck, to get that one win right now, because we're in games. They're playing hard. They're playing physical. There's a lot of injury on the sideline. If you see it, it's a total transformation from last year. So the culture is being built. We just got to stay the course, and we'll get that one breakout game. But, the foundation has been laid, and the culture and everything that we're asking these kids to do, they're doing. And, and I just told them yesterday in the team meeting, we just got to take that one last step. We're that close. We got to take that last step.
Yeah, Coach, you're right. You return home this weekend, Alumni Stadium to host St. Francis. My final question, what's the focus heading into this matchup, and what will it take for you to get over the hump?
Yeah, St. Francis is a good football team. Defensively, they're ranked 8th in the country, so that's going to be a a good matchup for us offensively, go against a great defense like that. It just got to play sound football and doing the little things. And we have total buy-in. Like I said, it's just the last little details that we have to clean up. Every little detail we have to do. And I think the biggest thing for us is just execution. And once we get down to the end, it's going to be a close ball game. We have to finish. We got to learn how to finish, and that's in practice too. So we're going to switch some practice, make it a little bit more competitive at the end of the practice, just so we can learn how to finish.
Okay, I see some media guys with their hands raised, and I know Elise is going to handle that. So hold on just for a second for Elise, Coach.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you're introduced. Our first question for Coach Hall comes from Chris Stevens, HBCU Sports.
Good morning, Coach. How's it going?
Good morning, Chris.
This team has come a long way in a short period, and I know a lot of coaches, I know you guys like to say you are what your record says you are, but this doesn't feel like a 1-4 football team from, where I've observed you guys. What do you think about how this team has progressed since the Hawaii travel situation to now having a chance to win homecoming against St. Francis?
Yeah, I think we're on the right trajectory. I like where we're going, and it's a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. But like I said earlier, you got to be in these type of games to learn how to win those games. Because when we come MEAC time, every game is going to be close. So we got to learn how to win them. But I like where we're going. I like our players. They believe in what we're doing, and they come to work every single day. And that's the biggest thing right now. Coming to work every single day. They didn't hold their heads. They knew. This loss is on everybody. Coaches included. I told them myself, there's things I got to do better. So we look in the mirror every Sunday and Monday. Coaching staff, what can we do better to help these guys get over the hump? I tell them the same thing. Look in the mirror. What are you going to do to help us get over the hump? So I think it's, for us to get a win, we just got to clear up those little glaring mistakes that we had in the game and just get 1% better.
You had a lot of big plays in that game. Of course, Jaden started off the game with the long run. Marquis threw a couple long touchdown passes. Just how important is it for the development of this offense to have that sort of big play ability that you've shown the last couple of weeks?
It's big because now they get a lot of confidence, and also me being as a play caller, it helps. I don't have to call many plays too. So, but I think we left some plays out there. On one drive, we missed 3 different receivers running down the middle of the field. So I think that's the next step. We got to capitalize on not missing those plays, because one of those 3, would be the difference in the game. Touchdown, like I said, they're 50-50 balls, but we were 0 for 3 on 3 deep balls, three out of 4 plays in a row. We had guys down there. So I think, we're excited about, and the players are excited about the offense and what we're doing and the big play ability that we have now, but we got to hit those open ones a little, and connect on some of those deep balls to make us even more explosive.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. Best of luck this week.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Our next questions for Coach Hall come from Andy Walter.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Good. How you doing, Andy?
All right. Hey, when you get in a situation like it was there, especially in the fourth quarter, where both offenses are just kind of going back and forth, is it a feeling like, boy, if we could just come up with one stop, we could really, steal the momentum in this thing and have it going our way?
Yeah, that was the thing. We just needed to get one stop, but we didn't get to stop. Offense, did what they needed to do to get us in field goal range. Obviously, they got a personal foul that, now they had to kick off, from 15 yards back, put us in decent field position. And then, we moved down the field. Jordan Hall had 2 really big catches in that drive to put us one on the 4th down, and then, come in to get us in field goal range, and we clocked the ball, and, we just came up short. But yeah, you would like to say, hey, can we get a stop here? But both offenses were playing pretty well. So I knew if we had time left on the clock that we had an opportunity the way our offense was playing to get the ball, at least in the field goal range.
Was that last kick blocked?
Yeah, it was tipped. It was tipped.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Before you scored that touchdown to take the lead, did you consider, playing for the field goal and not scoring? So you could run clock out?
On the last touchdown, you say?
Yeah, when Sutton scored on the 15-yard run.
Yeah. The way their offense was playing, that never really came across my mind. I didn't think they were gonna let us score, or if we scored that that was going to be a factor. Just because the way they were playing, I get what you're saying, but I thought they were going to play. It seemed like they let us score on that play because they felt their offense was doing well and they could move the ball down the field. So yeah, that's something that we talked about. Should we had not scored, but at that point, when the game was going on, I really didn't cross my mind that they were going to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously you're trying to get as many points as you can. It's always a tough decision to make. But yeah, I guess they did kind of let you score there, right?
Yeah, they did. And coming off the field, a couple of the players said they heard them say, "Hey, I don't know what the coach wants to let them score," and a couple of them tried to alert Jaden Sutton that was happening, so he wouldn't score.
Right.
So we did kind of they just couldn't get that relayed to him, in time.
Yeah. And homecoming, I mean, I'm sure it's both a distraction, but also, an opportunity to play in front of some more fans. Is that always kind of a dual edge thing for you as a coach?
Yeah, and there's a lot of things going on campus and stuff. And I told those guys yesterday in team meeting, obviously I want them to have fun, because it is homecoming. But our goal is to win homecoming, and homecoming win us. So when we're in meetings and stuff, you got to be where your feet are. After that, you can enjoy some of the festivities, but also just make sure you understand that the ultimate goal is to win homecoming. You got a lot of fans and a lot of alumni. There's a lot of buzz about the program now, so it should be packed. Let's go out with a homecoming win.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Hall come from Donald Ware.
Good morning, Coach Hall. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning, Donald. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. Even though you only have the one win so far, I mean, how would you assess the way that the team is playing overall this season?
I like how we're playing. Again, it's a learning experience, a maturation process. The team is playing well. They're close, and that's the biggest thing. They're really close. They're a close-knit team. Everybody's together. Everybody believes in what we're doing. Obviously, you see that we're going in the right direction. Again, we just need to get over the hump and get that one win. In all these close games. We do have one against Sacred Heart that we came down to the wire, but we fell short the last couple of times. But I think if you've seen where we were last year and where we're at now, it's a big difference, and we're going in the right direction. This program's got a lot of energy around it right now. The guys just got to stay the course, stay focused. Like I always tell them, have blinders on and earmuffs on, and just keep grinding, and things are going to happen. We're going to get that big win right here soon if they just keep going.
Seems like every team this year in the MEAC is improved. How have these games, and I guess in particular the close games, how do you think they'll help you in MEAC play?
I think it prepares us for the MEAC, because the MEAC, like you said, the MEAC is improved. We got great coaches on every team, so it's going to be a dogfight every single game in the MEAC. So I think playing the schedule that we're playing these type of opponents is going to prepare us to for the MEAC. Now I'm hoping that we can get a couple wins these next 2 weeks before we go into MEAC to give us some confidence going into them. And it's a learning experience, and we learn how to win some tough games and close games, because that's what it's going to be in the MEAC.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That concludes all of our media questions for Coach Hall at this time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Coach.
Thank you, Elise.
Delaware State returns home to host St. Francis on Saturday, October 5th at Alumni Stadium in Dover, Delaware. Kickoff is set for 1 p.m. on ESPN+. Lynn, over to you for our next interview.
Thank you so much, Elise. Up next, the head coach of the Norfolk State University Spartans, Coach Dawson Odoms. Coach Odoms, this morning, I'd like to welcome you. You dropped a tough 37-10 battle in Indianapolis at the Circle City Classic to North Carolina Central. Talk about the game and let's talk about the Spartans, because you seem to be up one week, down the next week, and I know you're certainly seeking some continuity and some consistency.
Well, yes, and that's the main thing we talked about today is just how can we somehow get some consistency with, we got with injuries, having guys in and out of the lineup is making it's tough to have any kind of continuity, especially on offense, because that's the side of the ball where we sustain the most injuries. And we started the game out in Indianapolis and really wanted to take some shots early to try to get off to a fast start, because they've done a really good job of getting off to a fast start. And I really thought defensively we were able to get off the field and start the game with the right energy and mindset. They ran the flea flicker play, hit us with a touchdown, and it's still a ball game. The touchdown right before the half kind of took some air out the sails. We going to halftime down 17-3. It's a different kind of ball game. 2 possessions is somewhere where you feel like, you still got a chance to win a ball game. 3 possessions make it like a stretch, but played much better in the second half. But they're a really good football team. Coach Oliver has those guys really playing well. Harris did an outstanding job at quarterback. He throws the ball to him. You can't zero in on one player. He spread the ball around. He really knows that offense and does a good job of executing it. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. But I felt like they D-line kind of dominated in the trenches with our O-line, and we wanted to stop the run. And for the most part in the first half, we did a really good job of stopping the run. They hit us with some runs in the second half, and the game kind of got away from us. But they're a good football team, and we'll get back to work today and see how we can put that one behind us and get ready for the next one.
Okay, Coach, your offense, as you mentioned, struggled to get going against the Eagles, and you sit at the bottom of the MEAC in scoring. How do you get back on track? How do you build that continuity in light of the injuries? And what adjustments, of any, do you foresee that you can put in place to swing those things around?
Well, just focusing on what we do very well and just let that be our home base and just build from that. After 6 games, we kind of got an idea what we do very well. We haven't had the team that played against FAMU on offense on the field at one time. So whether it's 2 O-linemen out, whether it's 2 receivers out, we just got those guys back, and that was their first game back from injury, and you can see the timing wasn't there, and we just didn't play and execute very well. But having them back for another week, hopefully we can get some continuity and some consistency from that side, and got to eliminate big plays. Way too many big plays on defense. But special teams, I feel like other than that return that we had, they played really well. We punted the ball the best we've done all year. We made a field goal. We got all our snaps and holes right. So we improved in that area. It's just staying consistent, stand the plan. They believe in what we're doing. They're fighting. They're clawing. It's just that it's up one week, down the next week, and just trying to figure out who those pieces of that puzzle are going to be healthy this week.
Okay, Coach. Well, you're on the road again this week, heading up to Connecticut to face Sacred Heart. Let's talk about this matchup as you inch closer and closer to nothing but conference play. So let's talk about Sacred Heart.
Well, good football team. They've kind of been like us, been up one week, down. They play some close football games, and quarterback does a really good job. They spread the ball around offensively. Defensively, they're bend but don't break type of defense, and we're going to need to be ready to play and go up there with the right mindset. And if we do that, we should have some success. And that's really what we got to do every week. It's just a matter of us executing at the level and having the right pieces of the puzzle in place so that we can execute and not give up big plays on defense. If we can do that, we give ourselves a chance to win every week.
Okay, Coach. That concludes my questions. Let's toss it over to Elise for questions from the media.
Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder to our media, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you are introduced. Our first questions for Coach Odoms come from Chris Stevens, HBCU Sports.
Good morning, Coach Odoms. How are you?
Good morning, Chris. Doing great. How you doing?
Pretty good. You've already, broken down all the things that have happened, against Central. You're going against Sacred Heart this week, a team that, has a little bit of, run option to them. Your defensive line is pretty capable of snuffing out any threat. What do you want your guys to work on the most, looking towards Sacred Heart this week?
Well, just diving into them, you got to be really locked into your assignments. It's really the back seven got to play with really good eyes. Up front, we got to play with a physicality that we've been getting better with every week, and just doing our job and being where you're supposed to be as it relates to being gap sound. If we do that up front, we give those back seven guys a chance to do their job.
We know football is a week-to-week thing. You guys have 2 more games before you finally get a bye. Just how important is it for these guys to not only compete, but just to be healthy, getting into the home stretch when it's nothing but MEAC play from here on out?
Well, that bye can't come fast enough. We've been at it since July the 24th. So not only physically are you a beat up football team, but mentally as well. That people don't really understand that bye is a mental break too. Give guys a chance to recharge and refocus, because coming out the gates playing 8 in a row is challenging. But we up for the challenge, and we just gotta get ready for the next one. And try to get guys back healthy, and we're starting to do that. We're starting to get guys back. They're getting a little bit better every week, and hopefully we come out of the bye week as healthy as we were when we started game 1.
Lastly, you guys have seen a lot of variety in the non-conference schedule. You've seen the SWAC, you've seen the Southern Conference. You're going to see, well, actually Sacred Heart is independent now, but they used to be in the Northeast. Just how important is it to have that sort of, variety in your non-conference schedule to prepare you for MEAC play?
Well, the variety is good. Just the number of non-conference games is what's challenging. You think about teams that's had a bye early, and then say they didn't play 0 week and they have already had their bye. You're going to see some of the same things that we went through when you got to play 7, 8, even possibly 9 games in a row. You're going to see the effects of that as your season go. Because week in and week out, it doesn't give you a chance for healing to take place. You get a little banged up here and you try to go, it may set you back, or you out 2 weeks and next thing you know, you come back, you out another week. So you never get a chance to rest your bodies when you're playing that many games in a row. That's why that bye week is critical, and we're trying to make sure we get to it on the right winning way, so that coming out of it, we'll have some momentum going into the last 4 games of our conference play.
All right, Coach, thanks very much for your time as always. Best of luck this week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That concludes all of our media questions at this time for Coach Odoms. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Always a pleasure. Behold, the green and gold.
Norfolk State travels to face Sacred Heart on Saturday, October 5th at Campus Field in Fairfield, Connecticut. Kickoff is set for 1 p.m. on ESPN+. Lynn, back over to you for our next interview.
All right. Thank you so much, Elise. Up next, the head coach of the South Carolina State Bulldogs, coming off a big win, Janice Berry. You got to feel good this morning, Coach Berry. How are you today?
Good morning. How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. You played your first game in Dawson Stadium in front of all the fans. And what a way to debut your version of the Bulldogs. 45-25 win over A&T. First victory over A&T in a long time. Talk to us about your team's performance this past Saturday.
Well, first of all, man, what an unbelievable atmosphere. I mean, it was electric. It was really like a little homecoming, man. It was people everywhere, and that was great to see. All the alumni come back. Bulldog Nation really came out to support, starting with our Bulldog Walk, and we brought back. It's been a long time since we had the Bulldog Walk, so what a great welcome to Oliver C. Dawson Stadium. It was great, man, and then to secure the victory, especially you know, an old MEAC rival with playing against North Carolina A&T, you know, obviously to get the win and to bring it back for the fans. I tell you what, it was awesome, man. It really, really was an enjoyable experience. And guys did some good things all, you know, in terms of offense, defense, and special teams.
Coach, I'll tell you what, your trigger man, Eric Phoenix, has really taken the offense over in his own. He is connecting well with other key players, Caden Hyde, DeAndre Duhart. You know these guys. It seems like you've been knowing them for a while. Talk about the growth of this offense, the chemistry. How has it come about?
Well, you know, it's funny that I'm going to say this, but I mean, of course, I know the offense very well and all the players, but although we had an explosive day offensively, we didn't play our best ball. I mean, we left a lot of plays out there, and which kept them close in the first half because there was a lot of situations that we had that we should have did a little bit better, and we didn't. But, you know, I am very familiar with Caden Hyde, Eric Phoenix, DeAndre Duhart. Those were guys that I brought in here with me, and they're explosive football players, and they can make plays, and they have a good understanding of our offense and what we're trying to accomplish. But, you know, it all starts with the big guys up front. And the reason why we had so much success offensively this past week, our offensive line, they really, really played well. I was super proud of those guys up front. They did a great job. We played about 7 guys up front, so we try to keep guys fresh. And I tell you what, they really, really held their own in the run game as well as in the pass game. So we have a long way to go to get to where we want to be. We got to eliminate those penalties. You know, penalties are putting us back, and we're getting touchdown and explosive plays that are getting called back. We got to get better with that, but I love the direction of our offense.
Okay, Coach, you take the show on the road again this weekend, going to Tennessee Tech. Let's talk about them and the matchup and the Bulldogs, and what do you expect your Bulldogs to do? And let's just talk about it.
You know, I'll tell you what, Tennessee Tech is a really good football team. Their 2 losses come from University of Georgia and Middle Tennessee State. So they're 2-2 right now. They beat Gardner-Webb this past week, pretty good, and then they beat Tennessee State in a really tough game. So we have our hands full, man. We're going up against a football team that, first of all, they can run the football. They had over 300 yards rushing this past week versus Gardner-Webb. So our defensive staff, you know, they have their hands full in trying to stop the run, but they have an efficient quarterback that does a really, really good job of managing and putting the ball to their playmakers. And their defensive line is definitely the strength of their team, man. They really hunt on that defensive line. So it'll be a challenge for us. We got to go to Cooksville, Tennessee, take that trip. And, you know, we'll be ready to rock and roll, though. But the Bulldogs will be ready to go, excited about the opportunity to be able to represent our conference, the MEAC. You know, and anytime we get a chance to go into, you know, against the OVC or whatever these other conference games are, we want to be able to represent well. So we'll be ready to go, and the guys will be focused and locked in on the task at hand, which is to come back to Orangeburg 1-0.
Coach, congratulations on your first win in Orangeburg, and hold on because Elise has some questions from the media reps.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder to the media, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you're introduced. Our first questions for Coach Barry come from Chris Stevens, HBCU Sports.
Good morning, Coach Barry. How are you?
How you doing today, Chris?
Pretty good. Well, I've asked you a couple of weeks in advance about how it would feel to, you know, go to Dawson Stadium for the first time as the head man, bringing back the Bulldog Walk. Just what were your feelings and emotions before the game started? Did you have any sort of like, you know, butterflies, or was it just a case of being ready to go?
Man, outside of being in the ticket business, man, I was fired up, man. I told my wife, man, listen, baby, I'm not in the ticket business, so these people gonna have to figure this out beforehand. But other than that, man, it was great. It was awesome, man. I mean, the atmosphere was electric, man. I'm talking about, and I can tell when I pulled up on campus early that morning. I mean, the RVs were already out there like on Monday and Tuesday, man. Those guys would get there early, and they're excited. They're excited about what we're doing in the program, just to, you know, even bringing the blue jerseys back, man. You know, that blue uniforms, they were super excited about that. So that brought some energy. And, you know, to be able to do it. They have Coach Jeffries in the building. That's my guy. Coach Buddy Pugh, that's my guy. And they were right there in the front row seats, man, just to be able to see it all. But it was an electric atmosphere. If you really just look up, man, I mean, all you saw was garnet and blue, you know, and it was great to see. So it brought a lot of emotions. Obviously, the mission doesn't change. We want to go 1-0. And that's what it's all about. We went against a good A&T football team, but we had 60 minutes to be able to show what we're all about, and we found a way to go 1-0.
I wanted to, expound on what Lynn was talking about with Eric Phoenix. Obviously, he played for you at Benedict. He had a year at Murray, and he had a really good game against the North Carolina A&T defense that has had their moments of glory in recent years. But just talk about how this game could be a confidence booster for him as you end conference play and head into the meat and potatoes of MEAC schedule.
Eric Phoenix didn't play his best ball, and he knows that. Eric Phoenix played well on the outside looking in, with the amount of yards he threw for and how he was able to move the offense. He knows that he's better than how he showed. And he's talented. That's why he understands he is what I consider one of our good guys. So if he's going to be a good guy, he has to make the right decisions, make the right throws and things of that nature. And he did some good things. Don't get it twisted. He did some really, really good things, but he was capable of doing a little bit more. And he knows that the expectation for him is to be great, and the standard is the standard, and we want his best. But ultimately, he is talented. He's a true dual threat. He can run it. He can throw it. He knows the offense like the back of his hand. And he's a student of the game. He's very cerebral. Like Eric Phoenix, one of probably the best things about him, he's so smart, and he knows how to manage the offense and put the ball in the playmaker's hand. That's why I say the expectation for him is much more than what you guys saw, because he understands the standard and we want his best. And he didn't play his best game, but he's going to continue to grow in this offense.
And lastly, you guys are on a bye again after you play Tennessee Tech. Just how important is it going to be for this game to not slip past you guys? And, because a lot of guys, they look forward to that bye week to where they can just rest and relax a little bit. But just, do you feel like it's a bad thing to have the byes this close together, or would you rather have them this close together so you can get your guys healthy and ready for the stretch run, which of course is Fort Valley State and then MEAC games the rest of the way?
Well, trust and believe, man, we needed the bye week. We had a week or so ago, man. We needed it big time, and we were able to get a lot of guys back. But having it right after Tennessee Tech is going to be kind of really, really good for us, because we have a few guys that still kind of, have a little nagging injuries here and there. But we'll take a bye week if we can get it. Coming out of Division II, like I just come from, we got 0 bye weeks. So to get 2, I'll take them whenever we can get them, man. No question about it. But, we need it. And it's not just healing the bodies. It's doing self-scouts, finding out what people see when they watch you. I think that's extremely important. It really helped us because we were able to break some tendencies that we may have shown those first 3 weeks. We were able to, show some different things. Now we're adding some more things to what we do. But I thought overall our defense played a really, really good game. They stopped the run. That's what we're all about. We were able to run the football, and our special teams were special. So whenever you can do that, we have a chance. But bye weeks are extremely important.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time as always. Best of luck this week.
God bless you. Thank you, man. Take care.
Our next questions for Coach Berry come from Ty Miller.
Hey, good morning, Coach Berry. Ty Miller with the Power News Radio Network and Black College Football Weekly. We're doing some pregame on the Tennessee Tech game. And you mentioned that Tennessee Tech has lost 2 games to Georgia and to Middle Tennessee State. So what did you learn about that team in those losses?
Well, they're a good football team. I mean, really, they took Middle Tennessee State down to the wire. I mean, it really could have went the other way. They have a really good football team. And I'll tell you what, they have a new head coach, and he's doing a good job. Last stop, he was at Old Dominion. And, they're doing a really good job. I mean, honestly, and they play well versus University of Georgia as well. So when you look at that football team, I think the strength of their team definitely is how they're able to run the football. And they don't play about running the football. I mean, they try to find every way that they can run it. So we'll have our hands full of stopping the run. And then defensively, like I said before, I think their defensive line is special. They have their interior guys. They're big, they're physical, they're strong. And then their ends are very elusive. So, like I said, we'll have our hands full because, every week for us, Ty, we want to be able to run the football and stop the run. And we'll have a challenge. But our young men will be ready to go. We're fairly healthy on the offensive line and defensive lines. And I like the young men that we'll take up there because I think we're pretty good up front as well. So we'll be ready to go when we go up to Cookeville, Tennessee.
About Tennessee Tech running the ball, they seem to be a team that runs by committee. This past weekend, you had about 4 or 5 different backs touch the ball, even the receivers in the running game. So how will that do for you schematically in terms of your defense, in terms of who might get the ball, not only from the running back position, but from sweeps, jet sweeps, and things of that nature?
You're exactly right. They do it so many different ways. I mean, they find ways to run the ball, and that's what good coordinators do. You don't have to always be one running back. They do it, like you say, with the quarterbacks, receivers. I mean, they do it with everybody. So, again, it doesn't change. It always starts with the big guys up front. The big guys up front that we have, our defensive line, which we play about 8 or 9 guys. They have to be able to be gap sound. Our linebackers, we got to make sure we're setting the front the right way. And then at the end of the day, we have to be in our gaps, and our safeties and our secondary guys got to be able to fit it as well. So, we just got to be sound and disciplined at the end of the day and put that team where they're getting a third and long situation. We have to do a good job of winning first and second down, which is always important. Put those guys to the position where they have to pass the football, but they're going to do all they can to try to run it. So, like I say, our defense staff will have their hands full.
Coach, in our shows, we like to try to educate our audiences on different terminology in football. You mentioned gap integrity. So from a layman's standpoint, can you talk about gap integrity and what is that so the average football fan who doesn't know about those type terms can understand it?
So when you talk about gap integrity, everybody has a gap per se. The offensive guys have a gap that they're responsible for that they have to win. The defense guys have a gap. And we typically talk about the outside halves of the center on both sides are the A gaps. All right. Out between the guards and the tackles are the B gaps. Between the tackles and the tight ends are the C gaps. And anything outside are the D gaps. So, you have to, any good football team that wants to run the football, they're going to try to win the B gap. So offensively, you want to win the B gap, but defensively, you better be able to win the B gap as well. So we always preach that here, but you got to be able to be in your gap. So if I'm a defensive tackle and I'm an A gap defender, that means when the play is over, I need to be in my A gap. Because if I get washed out of my A gap, that's when you see creases, runs hit right down the pipe because guys aren't gap sound.
Well, this past weekend, Tennessee Tech had a guy who was very gap sound. It's the defensive lineman, Theron Gaines. He had a huge game with 13 tackles. Have you taken notice of number 30, and what will you have to do to put a hat on him?
He's the real deal. But, more than anything, he plays with amazing motor. He's actually a defensive end. He's not a very big guy. Like, he's not a guy that when you look at the film, you're like, man, he's a big guy. No, he plays relentless. I believe he had 3 sacks this past weekend as well. I mean, the guy plays with a relentless motor. He comes off that edge and he plays to the whistle blows. So, I tell our guys all the time, effort is between you and you. It has nothing to do with talent. So when you got a guy that plays with amazing effort, we're going to ask our scout teams this week to have a guy that we know that's going to play hard to the echo of the whistle. So our tackles all week will get great looks at a guy like number 30 that we'll have a guy that we're going to simulate him. And we're going to have to keep a hand on him because he plays to the echo of the whistle.
Thank you very much, Coach, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
That concludes all of our media questions for Coach Berry at this time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you guys for having me. Go Dogs.
South Carolina State travels to take on Tennessee Tech on Saturday, October 5th at Tucker Stadium in Cookeville, Tennessee, with kickoff set for 1 p.m. on ESPN+. Lynn, back over to you for our next coach.
Thank you so much, Elise. Our final interview of this morning is with the head coach of the Morgan State Bears, Coach Damon Wilson. Good morning to you, Coach Wilson. How you doing today?
Good morning, Lynn. Doing well, buddy. How about yourself?
Good, Coach. Your team struggled offensively. Again, you put the first points of the game up on the board against Stony Brook, but then you struggled the rest of the game in spite of a very, very good defensive performance. Let's talk about this particular football game and hear your thoughts.
Yeah, we got to find a way to score points, and we got to find a way to do it pretty quickly here. We got a lot of guys down offensively, but that's no excuse. And this guy has to step up and make plays. Our quarterback was out this week, and we had 3 offensive linemen down. But once again, we got to find a way to score the ball. We moved the ball at times through the game, but when it counted and punching it in, we didn't do a good job of that. We gave up some explosive plays defensively, which we really hadn't done all year for the most part. And special teams, we played well enough to win, but we have to find a way to score the ball offensively.
Coach, defensively, you're ranking first in the MEAC in scoring allowed, only giving up 18.4 points a game. You held a strong Stony Brook program. They've been scoring. You held them to 22 points. Normally, that's enough to win a football game. What have been the keys to your success defensively?
The coaches have done a great job, preparing the guys week in and week out. I think we have some depth on that side of the ball where guys have gotten experience early. So now when you're playing against a Stony Brook team that likes to run the ball, we're able to put play about 8, 9 D linemen, which helped us some, I think, this past week. And once again, on the back end, I think we have some veteran guys that understand the scheme and they're playing hard. We just have to match that intensity offensively and have some success scoring the ball on a consistent basis, no matter who's in the ball game. And we have to get to the bottom of that this week.
Okay, Coach, if you had to go to the doctor and him to write you let's say a prescription for making things right, it would probably read homecoming. And that's what's going to happen this week. You're hosting Lincoln at Hughes Stadium for homecoming, first one in 2 years. So that's a great benefit and advantage for you to have. But then how do you keep the players focused on the field? How do you keep them zoomed in on what you need them to accomplish in spite of all of the celebrations, the excitement? And then how do you get your team chemistry and everything packed into one performance on a Saturday, which could serve as a catalyst for the rest of the year for you?
A great question, Lynn. And I think they sort of filmed yesterday. The guys sort of filmed. There shouldn't be a lot of things that I have to say or do to get these guys prepared. They realized we didn't play well in all 3 phases consistently throughout the game this past Saturday. So they understand that. They understand what's going on homecoming. Homecoming is about the alums coming back, and it's our responsibility to put on a good performance so we can have a little fun after the game on Saturday. But in order to do that, we must handle our business throughout the course of the week. They know to kind of stay away from all the other pageantry that's going on through the week. But it's the build up for the game. And we want to make sure that we fulfill our end of the bargain and give our supporters and our alums a good showing on Saturday.
Okay, Coach, happy homecoming to you. Elise, it's on you.
Thank you, Lynn. As a reminder to our media, please use the raise hand feature and remain muted until you are introduced. Our first questions for Coach Wilson come from Chris Stevens, HBCU Sports.
Good morning, Coach Wilson. How are you?
I'm good, Chris. How about yourself?
Pretty good. As Lynn alluded to, this is going to be a homecoming game that you guys didn't have a chance to have last year because of extenuating circumstances. Just how exciting? How's the buzz on campus for the return of homecoming to Morgan State?
It's really exciting. I mean, last year, like you said, we missed homecoming, and I've only experienced one homecoming here since I've been here as the head coach, and I know the fans. It was a great atmosphere. I mean, there was no parking, standing room only. I mean, it was a great environment, and I think it's something that I look forward to seeing the supporters come out Saturday. They've been really supportive throughout the course of the season thus far, and we're looking forward to seeing them out at Hughes Stadium on Saturday. And the guys will be prepared to play, and we just look for the opportunity to get back in the win column and get everything going in the right direction and play well in all 3 phases. We have 2 more weeks before conference play, and as everyone mentioned already, there's not going to be an easy week doing conference play. Every team is going to put up a hell of a fight, and we must be prepared and play the best Morgan State football we can play before we get to conference play.
You got Lincoln coming into town. They're struggling in CIAA play, but they have a tremendous quarterback in Isaiah Freeman. Just if you had a chance to look at any film on him yet, have you had a chance, and if you have, what have you seen?
He's an athlete, man. This kid can throw the ball a little bit, but his legs, he can hurt you with his legs. He's a competitor, so I know he'll be excited to come in here and play on Saturday. We got to play sound defensively and kind of keep him bottled up, if you will. And he will take some chances with the ball downfield. We must be in position to make those plays, but he's a very dynamic athlete at the quarterback position.
And lastly, everybody seems to have front-loaded their schedule in the MEAC, with the non-conference games, and it's just going to be MEAC play from here on out. How do you think that'll go in towards determining how this race ends up? Because everybody has seen a little bit of everything from outside of the conference, and now from October on is just MEAC play. How do you think that'll determine how this race goes?
It's going to be challenging, but you have a whole lot that plays into fact. You got to be prepared, playing your best ball as possible. You want to be healthy. You want to have a little luck on your side. You have to prepare. I mean, all of those things are going to come into play when you're talking about playing 5 weeks straight MEAC football after coming out of a competitive non-conference schedule and playing teams that's pretty much all over the place, whether it's an FBS opponent, Division II opponent, an FCS opponent. I mean, teams are going to be prepared, that's for sure. And you want to be as healthy as possible getting into that MEAC play.
All right, Coach, thanks very much for your time. Enjoy homecoming. Best of luck this week.
Sir, thank you.
Our next questions for Coach Wilson come from Kayla Sweezy.
Hi, Coach Wilson. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good, Ms. Kayla. How you doing?
I'm doing well. You just talked about playing FBS, FCS, and even Division II opponents. With your last two opponents at home, it's been D2 versus a D1 matchup. Can you talk about the parallels between Division I, Division II, having coached at Bowie, now at Morgan? What are some of the things that are standing out, knowing that there's talent across all of these different divisions?
Indeed, that's something that even at my time at Bowie, I understood that. And when we played FCS opponents, our guys wanted to show that they were a FCS athlete. And so we always played harder, if you will, when we were playing against those FCS teams. So we have to be ready for Lincoln's best shot this upcoming weekend. The biggest thing for our guys is not to get caught up in level of football. These guys play college football, and they want to come in and beat you at homecoming. And we must be prepared, and we must execute Morgan State football to the best of our ability to give ourselves a chance to win. We're not playing good enough to take a week off or look at an opponent lightly at all. We must be hitting on all three phases in order to get done what we're trying to get done this year.
Yes, and who have you seen kind of stepping up in the locker room this year just to create that culture heading into this weekend as well?
Defensively, it's been Elijah Williams. He's just steady. He's just steady. He's going to show up and show out every time he gets an opportunity. He's going to represent the program the right way. And offensively, it's been Crawley, Andre Crawley, and he's a guy that plays the receiver position. So a lot has to go right for him to have an impact on the field, but off the field, he's been doing a great job trying to lead the guys and get the young guys caught up to speed. I think this past week we started 3 freshmen O-linemen with 2 sophomores. And so Crawley is the old vet on the field trying to keep everybody composed and make sure everybody's going in the right direction. So we have some guys in position to lead the ball club. It's just a matter of us continue to push and fight through certain adversities and be ready to roll come Saturday.
Thanks, Coach. Best of luck.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
That concludes all of our media questions at this time for Coach Wilson. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Sure.
Morgan State returns home to host Lincoln University on Saturday, October 5th at Hughes Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland, with kickoff set for 1 p.m. on ESPN+. This concludes the weekly MEAC Football Coaches video conference. Before the end of the conference, we would like to thank all that assisted and participated in today's video conference. The MEAC would also like to thank its corporate partners for their continued support of the conference and its Elite 8 member institutions. As a reminder, the next video conference is next Monday, October 7th at 10 a.m. For more information on MEAC football and other sponsored sports, please visit MEACsports.com and follow the MEAC on social media at MEAC Sports on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. Thank you for tuning in to this week's MEAC Football Coaches video conference and have a great football week.